Coming up on Theater Talk.
I'm being honest with you.
I want you to be honest
But perhaps I shouldn't be, but...
No, maybe you're not honest with me.
No, I
What's
did
the
not
point?
jump out of bed this morning saying, oh boy, I get to meet the press today
No,
and have chats about the play.
Theater Talk is made possible in part by the CUNY TV Foundation. From New York City, this is Theater Talk. I'm producer Susan Haskins.
And I'm Michael Riedel of the New York Post.
So, Michael, did you know that Barbra Streisand has her own personal mall in the basement of her house where she puts all her tchotchkes? This is a true fact. And now there is a fantastic play with a premise so inventive and wonderful that I'm going to let our guest, the playwright Jonathan Tolins, explain it to you. Joining Jonathan is Michael Urie, a wonderful New York actor who we also remember across America for his role in Ugly Betty, among many other things, but that's where I
So Jonathan, now, the play is called Buyer and Cellar, C-E-L-L-A-R.
That's right.
And it is based on one of the great design books, I think, of all time, Barbra Streisand's My Passion for Design. Now, this is a book that takes you inside her Malibu compound.
Yes.
And you found in this book the inspiration for your play. What is that?
Well, one of the unusual features of Barbara's estate is in the underground section of the barn. Instead of
Already funny.
instead of having closets or storage rooms to store all her old stuff, because she's got a lot of stuff, she decided to build a street of shops. So it's like a little European arcade. There's a doll shop and a sweet shop and an antique clothes store and an antique shop. And I thought that was kind of funny. And so I imagined one day, you know, I said to someone, boy, how'd you like to be the guy who has to work down there? And eventually I started to think of it as a play. And so I did some research. I actually read that book cover to cover. And I found a lot of details that inspired moments for me. And I imagined this guy, Alex Moore, who's an actor in LA, the kind of actor in LA that I know who like just can't really get things going. And ends up with this job of being down there to greet the customer and take care of the merchandise.
Was the customer Barbara?
The customer, yes. There's the one customer who comes down and browses.
And he plays her too.
Oh, you do the double act.
I play several different people. But I'm sort of the guy telling the story, and I just tell it quite well. And
You tell it beautifully.
well, I didn't mean it like that. I just mean that I tell it so well that I sort of become the other people.
You become Barbra Streisand.
Yeah.
Brilliant, by the way. Just want to say that.
It's a brilliant play.
Right. Have we heard from Barbara? Does she know that?
No.
Done?
Does she watch this show?
We are syndicated in Malibu.
I love PBS.
So she has no idea about this play. You didn't have to.
As far as we
rights or
know,
anything like that?
No. I mean, it's all public information.
Right.
And
It's in her book, published.
The most important thing is that ultimately it's a very sympathetic portrait of her. I don't think she would be too offended.
But is it legal to do that?
Well,
She's a public figure.
What I've been told by lawyers is that as long as we don't advertise using her name or likeness, which we don't at all, then we're not profiting off her in that way. And so,
do you mention her name in the play? You say
yes,
yeah.
It wouldn't be funny if I like created some character who's sort of like her, because the play the play is sort of deals with the Barbara in our minds. Like it sort of plays with the Barbara we all know and all this information that even if we're not big fans of hers, we all carry around all these opinions and thoughts about Barbra Streisand, which the play kind of unearths and deals with.
Is there a slightly sort of pathetic quality to your character? I mean, as you were saying, the actor who really never makes it and is really, this is really the definition of being on the fringe of show business when you're working in Barbra Streisand's mall in her basement.
Under the fringe.
Yeah, right.
He is, I mean, he's a very sweet, lovely person, the character of Alex. But he isn't doing what he wants to be doing, and he does need money jobs. He works as a cast member at Disneyland and other kinds of things that actors can do to make money when they're not making money. Actually, like really acting, and so this comes along, and at first it seems kind of sad and pathetic, but it does become something that really you know, that really inspires him. And it's sort of like all great stars, we have like, there's sort of a friend in our head, you know, like we sort of think we know them a little bit, and I think that's what Jonathan's done so beautifully is he's created a Barbara that it may or may not be anything like the real Barbara, but we buy it. We buy that she would be like this, and we like that she would be like this. And
The beginning of the play, Michael comes out and tells the audience, none of this is real, none of this happened, but you feel it as the thing goes on that people forget that, and they really want to believe this is actually, they're getting to spend time with Barbara. And there's no one dressed as Barbara or looking like Barbara, he just sort of evokes her.
No,
and so
but
many
you're
people
totally engulfed in this world, and the world of her tchotchke realm, where the doll shop, because you can almost see the doll shop and all these wonderful things. You're at the Little Rattlestick Theater, which is not a big house, but you really have this beautiful way of making us see this. But I want to say, Barbara, if you're watching, you should really support this play, because I think it will help you sell books. I went home and bought a book last night.
But are you getting at something here? Is this the excess of the consumer culture, that these people simply have too much money, that they're building a street in the basement of their barn?
Well, you know, there is some of that. I mean, you just can't help but feel that little 1% nature of this situation. But, you know, for me, I really wanted to I thought it was an inherently funny and interesting situation, and to have these two characters who are in different economic and show business spheres put together and form this relationship. I had no message that I was trying to get across. I just wanted to make it as real as possible to me while I was writing it. But that stuff is definitely in there. And Alex does ask at the end something about what is, you know, all this stuff. You know, what is it about?
But we've worked out in Hollywood, right? You've been...
Oh, yeah. I mean,
have you known some of these stars like this who live like this? Have you seen...
Oh, I've been around very rich people, yes.
And you really think Barbra Streisand, and you remind us how incredibly brilliant she is, but if she had not hit it big as Barbra Streisand and became a hoarder, then she would just have all this stuff all over her house, but she can pay people to organize it, and you know.
Well, at one point in the play, he said, "Did she ever think of how much dusting would be necessary?" Of course not. Why would she? You know, she's not the one with the Swiffer going around.
Do you think she's a hoarder here?
Yes, I think yes.
So in the play, he says it's hoarding on a higher plane.
Yes, a high plane
hoarder. Yeah. But it's there's so much. I mean, there's so much stuff in there. I mean, there are things in the book, like there's you know, corners of pages in the book that contain things that cost more than our entire play. Like she could move our play to Broadway with a corner.
But one of the things that really inspired the play, and which I think gives the play kind of its heart, is there's a line in one of the captions of the photos in the book where she says that she always dreamed, and she shows some big room where she found the perfect table to match this other table, and she says, and I've always dreamed of having these huge dinner parties in this room, but I'd be too afraid of anyone getting dirt on the Aubusson rug. And that was so poignant to me. I mean,
she's a prisoner of her own stuff.
Well, in a way, yeah. And so that drives a lot of the play and what Alex kind of discovers about her. And they form this really close bond because she actually does open up her home and her heart a little bit to this person in her basement.
Now, you started to say before Susan so rudely interrupted you that you have been around incredibly rich people.
I've worked in show business, and I've worked with very big people. I mean, I traveled around on a Learjet with Bette Midler in 1999, writing her tour, and so she is not this book. This is not about her. She's doing her own show with Barbara Stories right now. So.
with Sue, the Sue Mendra story that she's doing.
Yeah. So yeah, I've been around it, and you know, and I don't have any big judgment about it, but it's something. It's weird. It causes a response in you, and I wanted to explore that.
Well, I mean, I too have sort of. I know people as well, and you see them, and you do begin to wonder, though, does it take a psychological or an emotional toll on you when you don't have to do anything for yourself at all? She doesn't have to dust.
Except I want to hastily add that she took the pictures for her own book. I mean, she doesn't have to do anything for herself, but there's a part of her which you bring out that she wants to do anything that she wants to do and wear so many hats in so many projects.
But you can be in that bubble, you know, that showbiz bubble, where you are disconnected to the way people really live their lives.
That's a danger as an artist, absolutely.
You're getting at that somewhat in the play too, do you think?
Yeah, I think a little bit. Yeah, there are moments where you feel like she's lost touch with some of the fun that she used to be able to have as a performer. But in the play, you know, one of the cool things that we've all been reading about is that Barbara's planning a movie of Gypsy, and that comes up in the show because it turns out it's Alex's idea. And but they rehearsed together in the basement, and Barbara is wonderful because there's no pressure of everyone watching it. She's just down there with her new friend in the basement.
And you're doing Gypsy too, which is quite. You're playing Herbie.
Yes. Well, Alex played Herbie in college.
Yes.
Which is where the whole idea.
Are you a Streisand fan?
I am. I would not say I was a Streisand nut. I mean, when I was a teenager, my mom and I used to watch the DVD of the 94, 95 concert, whatever it was. We would watch that together, and I thought she was brilliant, and that was really all I knew of her. That was what was so exciting to me about doing this play, was getting to sort of be her, because I think she's so brilliant, and I think she's such a star in that movie star way, that unpredictable way, that the reason we love watching people like Al Pacino and Nicholson and Streisand, who are, you don't know what they're going to do. You don't. They're crazy. I mean, they're crazy actors.
They're freaks of nature.
They are. Yeah, they are.
Superhumans.
And she demands your attention.
They are. And it's not. And it's not about. And not a single one of them is what you would traditionally call a beautiful person, but they have this superstar charisma. Really.
And there's an intense need. And that intense need
leads to hoarding.
is one of the things that leads to acquiring things and people.
But that's also a slippery slope, I would say. I mean, I'm doing okay, but I'm certainly not rich. Certainly not Streisand rich, but like it's a slippery slope when you have people attending to you.
Yeah.
You know, like working on TV, where people will, you know, go get you a cup of coffee
Yes.
or whatever. Then, you know, working at the Rattlestick, where you make the pot yourself, and you know, like it's
You don't want to lose that ability.
I know, but I love it when I'm on Smash and they say, "Would you like a vegetarian quesadilla or a meat quesadilla for lunch?" And you get your trailer, and there's always somebody fetch things for you.
and you get used to that.
I love it. And then the background.
Don't get too used to it.
I know.
And then you get put on Saturday night, darling.
And that's
okay. So
that's
I
the
want
other
to say about the hoarding that it is said that Andy Warhol was such a shopaholic that when he died, they found in his townhouse just bags and bags of stuff. He never even took the stuff out of the bag.
He needed an Alex Moore to sort of help him out,
exactly.
so.
Yes, exactly.
Now, let's just say for the sake of argument that Barbara does come to see this play and invites you over, Jonathan, the house.
I'd say yes.
Will you ask to see the mall underground?
Oh yes, I know. I've met people who have seen it, who've been down there.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
And what is
worked
their
on a
take
movie.
on it?
They said that the play is accurate.
Really?
Not that she doesn't have anyone working down there, but that it feels like it does in the picture.
Yes, and if we can legally show this picture, I don't know, I'm going to think about it. No, if I can hold it up.
litigious, so you
Wait,
gotta be
wait,
careful
wait.
with
Let
that.
me hold this up on camera. So now talk about the thing, and I'll hold up the doll shop picture on camera.
In the back.
Like 190.
190.
or so.
All right, okay. All right, go back. All right, go back where you are. So, and they say,
Yeah, like this is the doll shop where
Yeah.
Alex, actually that's where Alex first gets to meet Barbara, where she comes down and pretends to be someone shopping.
She pretends to be someone.
Yeah,
oh,
Yeah, they
so many
play.
things. Oh.
that's the antique store.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and that's the street. There's the sweet shop with the frozen yogurt machine.
That's fake. That's not real light. That's artificial light.
Buyer and Cellar at the Rattlestick Theater, starring Michael Urie.
And I don't think I've gushed
Shopkeeper.
enough, Michael, over how terrific you are.
Thank
That
you.
You are just really, really terrific.
Thank you.
And a fine new play by Jonathan Tolins at the Rattlestick Theater. Thanks a lot for being our guests on Theater Talk.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
There is an order to my life right now, and you threaten it.
So, Michael, you've been in Barbados on holiday.
I'm the man with a tan, George
Yes,
Hamilton,
yes.
that's me.
But while you were there, I went over to Lincoln Center Theater for a meet and greet for Douglas Carter Beane's new play, The Nance.
Which stars our old friend Nathan Lane. Now, Susan, I do want to say, though, we've been trying to get Nathan on the show a long, long time because he's a huge fan of mine, as you well know.
I know, because you've written such lovely things about him in your column.
And I'm a little put out that when I'm away, you sneak around behind my back to get that Nathan Lane interview. Did you invite Nathan on the show to meet me at some point?
Yes.
And what did he say? It's not going to happen?
They didn't say yes. All
Nathan,
right.
if you're watching, you have a standing invitation to come on Theater Talk. We'll have a nice conversation. You know I'm a big fan of yours.
So now we take you to the rehearsal hall. We looked at the props.
Oh, I'm sorry, I missed it. Sounds exciting.
It was fabulous. And then we started out our interviews by talking to, as you said, Nathan Lane. Hi.
Susan, cheer up.
I know. You too. You too, Nathan.
A vision in black.
That's all I can pull together. What time did you get up this morning?
I got up at 8:30.
So, and when you woke up, then you thought, I have to go to a meet and greet. What was your thought on this?
Well, you know, I just want to rehearse, really.
Yeah, so,
you know,
because you get to talk to all the press today. Do you welcome that opportunity?
Well, no, nobody does.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know how to break it to you. Maybe who? Maybe Scarlett Johansson.
No.
Maybe she's really upbeat about this kind of thing, but having done it for a long time, no, you don't want to talk about your work. You just want to do it. You want to rehearse.
Plus, they're a bunch of animals anyway, you know.
Well, I don't. You know, that's their business.
That's very
you
true.
know, but no, I don't. You know, I'm being honest with you.
I want you to be honest
But perhaps I shouldn't be, but
no, maybe you're not honest with me.
no,
What's
I did
the
not
point?
jump out of bed this morning saying, "Oh boy, I get to meet the press today
No, I suspect.
and have chats about the play."
No, so speaking of the play,
Yeah.
I heard you say you're playing the. I had never heard this term, the Nance, before. Is this one you had heard before?
Well, if you probably heard, you know, in English slang, what Nancy boy.
Yes, of course
You've
I've heard that many a
Nance.
time.
So, a Nance was just a character in burlesque sketches that was a very effeminate stereotype of a
Yeah.
gay man.
Can you think of like famous Nances of the yesteryear that we would know?
Not from burlesque.
Not from burlesque.
I don't think any of them became really famous. I mean, certainly in the 20s and 30s, every once in a while, a gay character would pop up.
Like
and you would go,
Franklin Pangborn.
Yes, I mean that's the one everyone points to. Although I don't. I know he lived with his mother for many years, so I'm sure he probably was gay. But, you know, I don't think of him so much that way. But he did play that kind of, I guess what people would call a fuss budget. He was very prissy, you know, so I guess he falls into that category.
But now I'm told that your character is also a Republican.
Yes, he is. Chauncey Miles is a Republican and a conservative. He loves politics. He's a big fan of LaGuardia, who in the play is trying to put an end to burlesque, and he hates Roosevelt. He thinks Roosevelt is a socialist. He's always saying, well, you know, what did I ever get? When do I get my handout? You know, he's had to create everything for himself, his life, his persona. You know, I would venture to say even his name is something that he made up for show business. Yeah. And I think at the heart of the play is this love story. I mean, that's what it really is about.
Oh,
and what you see is Chauncey, which is one generation, and then in the character of Ned, played by this wonderful young actor, Jonny Orsini, you're seeing the next generation, where they're going.
Yeah.
And they come together in a surprising way, and it's very, very touching. But ultimately, you know, the tragedy of the play is he can't allow himself, he can't accept this love that he's getting. He can't allow himself to have it, you know, because of his own issues and self-loathing, and he just can't, you know. And so, and that I think that's something everyone can relate to.
I think everyone
gay
can
or
relate to
straight.
that. Now, I just want to ask you one more thing.
Right.
You were in Chicago, you did The Iceman
Yeah.
Cometh.
Yeah.
What did that give you as an acting experience?
Well, it was just the best acting experience of my life.
Now, how so?
Well, I mean, you know, you got an hour. You know, it's it was just the play is, because it's a monumental play, because it's a play I've always wanted to do, and have loved since I was a kid. And I was working with Bob Falls and a very old friend of mine, Brian Dennehy, who I've known for over 30 years, and we've never worked together. And it was just doing it in Chicago, a city I love, and with this great company of actors. It was the most thrilling experience of my theatrical life. And it was the play, obviously the play asks everything of you, you know, to go to the darkest of places. And it was, you know, terrifying and thrilling. And it was, you know, it was just the best thing that I could have done for myself as an actor.
How are you, darling?
Great. How are you, my love?
So now, if you must be still in a whirl from your Cinderella opening.
I'm in my little yes, I'm in a William Ivey Long designed world. It's going great. If you had to be me, this would be the period to do it.
Now, the Nance.
Yes.
What inspired this play?
I have to thank Philip at the Sundance Institute for Playwrights. He got it into his head. He called me. I was in the process of adopting my first child, and he called me and said, we have a U-Cross Foundation in Wyoming where we send you for 3 weeks, put you in a cabin, feed you, and you have to come back with something. Sort of a writer's retreat in Excelsior. And I said, oh, I can't do that. I'm about to do it. He goes, trust me, you're not going to be doing it for 18 years. Do it now. So I left, and I packed into my little bag a book that I had just picked up called Gay Life by George Chauncey, which is about gay life in the 20s, 30s, and 40s. And in my computer, 2 weekends before, I had done a benefit for my theater company drama department where I did comedy sketches. And I'd been to Lincoln Center Library going over comedy sketches, sorting them out, and had written my versions of those comedy sketches. And in that, had heard the name Nance. Not really making a big connection of it, but as we got into rehearsal, I went, oh my gosh, this is the gay character. It's like the gay equivalent of blackface. This is like the big effeminate queen. We got Brian Batt to play it at the benefit. He was spectacular. So I went off to, I was there amongst the fracking and the mooing and then the steeds as they were in the Wyoming, cowboy boots riding. And I wrote the first scene, and when I was done with the first scene, I realized it was for Nathan.
What's a prototype of a Nance that we would know from yesteryear?
From yesteryear, I'm thinking like if you grew up in the 60s or 70s, it would be a Paul Lynde and
Yes.
Alan Seuss or Charles Nelson
That kind of
Riley.
thing,
It's very queeny, usually efficient. There are lots of them in 30s and 40s movies.
Do you think that the Nance will, that this kind of character will now become obsolete now that we're on the precipice of gay civil rights?
I think that it's a very interesting companion to gay civil rights about how we view gay people, how view people gay themselves because of the images that they themselves are involved in creating in society. I love saying like, okay, why do we laugh so hard at this stuff? And it is funny. I mean, it is, there's nothing makes me laugh harder than seeing a big Nelly Queen show up in a sketch.
But you always do think that he's a tormented soul.
Maybe
I mean,
you
I
do.
would've-
I just was really fascinated who the person was off stage. And so I wrote him.
Here was this play. I've never seen anything like it. First of all, it's historically right. It's rich. It's 1937. There's a lot about it that we, even in the modern days, don't know. I mean, I have a lot of gay friends who would have no idea how difficult it was to be gay in the 30s, that it was dangerous, that you could be arrested, that you were marginalized, so there's that. Then there's Nathan Lane at the top of his game.
Indeed.
And he is doing the original, some of them are adaptations, but the original material from burlesque. These are the sketches. So he's hilariously funny, and then he breaks your heart because the play is filleted between real scenes about his relationship and the backstage life and the political life of the time, which is really interesting, and these burlesque scenes. So it's like this on. It's unbelievable.
What do you see now as your greatest responsibility as the director right now to this production?
Just to keep everybody in the same world, to sort of keep it moving, to try to, I mean, it's a rich, rich mix because it's hilariously funny, it has music, and it's heartbreaking. And I don't want it to be a musical that has this sort of diminishes. It's a play about this guy and what politically, emotionally, and theatrically happens to him. And I got to wrap it in that kind of paper.
What are you learning from Jack O'Brien?
Jack?
Yeah.
Well, I told him, so one of the things I did growing up was skateboarding, and my favorite skateboarders were always the people who just seemed effortless and flow in their movements, and Jack does that as a director, and I don't really know how, but he brings you to places you didn't even realize you can go, and then you're there, and you don't even, you're like, how did I get here? And then you just look at him, and he's just like this Buddha sitting there, and he's unbelievable.
Does he talk a lot in rehearsal or really just sparely?
It depends. I mean, he talks when it's necessary, and he also knows exactly when to give space.
Now what about Nathan? What are you learning from Nathan?
Nathan is so supportive, and he is one of the hardest working people I've ever met in my life. And watching him work on the burlesque sketches, for example, he is just, he has this rich comedic history. Like he has clearly studied, and he just knows these things inside and out. And the way he and Jack work together to put together these sketches is it's amazing to see how the comedic beats come together. And then in the scenes that we have, the love story, the dramatic arc of the story, he just works so hard, and he has such a richness inside of him. And I feel really honored to be working with him. He's great.
Well, I have to give you up now. Goodbye,
nice.
darling. It's very nice to meet you.
It's great to meet you,
now
too.
remember Theater Talk.
Theater Talk.
You know, it's in the middle of the night, but if when you can't sleep, turn it on.
Sure.
It's likely to be there.
Cool,
All right.
that sounds good to me.
Goodbye.
If I can see you, I will watch it.
All right.
I love
Okay,
that.
goodbye.
Cool, thank you so much.
My following is all very top drawer, intelligent.
They're pansies, Chauncey. Now somehow the word is out that you're a pansy in real life. So all the pansies are coming to have a fun time and not believe what you just said. And then when the girls come out, they go to the balcony.
I have no control over what goes on in the balcony.
Disgusting perverts, taking care of regular guys who happen to get excited by our girls.
Is that what's going on in the balcony? So don't let the pansies in then.
What are you, nuts? We ain't seen money like this since Gypsy Rose Lee played.
Our thanks to the Friends of Theater Talk for their significant contribution to this production. Theater Talk is made possible in part by the Frederick Loewe Foundation, the Eleanor Naylor Dana Charitable Trust, the Corey and Bob Donnelly Charitable Fund, the Noel Coward Foundation, Carrie J. Fries, the Dorothy Strelson Foundation, the New York City Department of Cultural Affairs, and the New York State Council on the Arts, a state agency.
We welcome your questions or comments for Theater Talk. Thank you and good night.